Long before the great flood, before Noah entered the ark, before the ancient world was washed away, the Book of Enoch describes a moment when humanity received knowledge it was never supposed to possess. And according to the text, that knowledge did not come from kings, it did not come from prophets, it did not come from human discovery, it came from heaven, from beings known as the Watchers, 200 angels who abandoned their appointed place, descended to earth, and crossed a boundary between heaven and humanity. But among them, one name would become associated with some of the most dangerous knowledge of all, Azazel. According to the Book of Enoch, Azazel taught human beings how to make swords, knives, shields, and armor. He revealed the working of metals from the earth. He taught knowledge connected with ornaments, precious stones, and cosmetics. Things that may sound ordinary to us today. But within the world of the Book of Enoch, they represented something far more dangerous. Knowledge arriving before humanity was ready for it. And the consequences were catastrophic. Violence spread, blood was spilled, the earth became corrupted. And when heaven finally responded, Azazel received one of the most terrifying punishments described anywhere in the book. He was seized, bound hand and foot, thrown into darkness, beneath jagged stones in the wilderness. And according to the text, he would remain there, waiting for the final judgment. But why? Why was Azazel singled out? Why was the knowledge he revealed considered so dangerous? And why does the Book of Enoch place so much responsibility for the corruption of the ancient world on a single fallen angel? To understand that, we have to return to the moment when the Watchers first looked down upon the earth. Chapter 1. The Watchers. The story begins with a mysterious group of heavenly beings. The Book of Enoch calls them the Watchers. Their exact nature has been debated for centuries, but within the story, they belong to the heavenly realm. They observe the world below, and eventually, observation becomes desire. According to 1st Enoch, the Watchers saw the daughters of men and found them beautiful. They desired them, and they made a decision that would change everything. They would descend to earth, take human wives, and have children with them. But their leader, Semjaza, was afraid, not because he did not share their desire, but because he feared that when the moment came, the others might abandon the plan, leaving him alone to suffer the consequences. So the Watchers made an oath. All of them would participate. All of them would accept responsibility. According to the text, 200 descended, and the place associated with their oath was Mount Hermon. From that moment forward, there was no easy return. The boundary had been crossed, but their relationships with human women were only the beginning, because the Watchers brought something else with them: knowledge, secrets, teachings that, according to the story, belonged to the heavenly realm. Different Watchers revealed different things, and among those teachers, Azazel would become one of the most infamous. Chapter 2. Who was Azazel? Azazel is one of the most mysterious figures in ancient religious literature. Even his name has generated centuries of debate. He appears in traditions connected with ancient Judaism, and the name also appears in the Hebrew Bible, most famously in the ritual of the Day of Atonement described in Leviticus. But scholars continue to debate exactly what Azazel means in that context, whether it refers to a being, a wilderness location, or something else. The Book of Enoch, however, presents Azazel much more clearly. Here, he is connected directly with the corruption of humanity. And unlike Semjaza, who plays a central role in organizing the descent of the Watchers, Azazel becomes especially important because of what he teaches. The distinction matters. Semjaza helps begin the rebellion. Azazel helps transform the human world. According to Enoch, he reveals technologies, skills, and practices that human beings then use in destructive ways. And the first of these would change warfare forever. Chapter 3. The Knowledge of War. The Book of Enoch says that Azazel taught men to make swords, knives, shields, and breastplates. He showed them metals and how those metals could be worked. Think about what the ancient author is suggesting. Human violence already existed, but now, according to the story, violence had been given technology. A human hand could strike, a metal blade could kill far more effectively, a group could fight, Armor could turn that group into an organized force of war. The Book of Enoch therefore connects Azazel's teachings not merely with knowledge, but with the escalation of violence. And soon the earth begins to change. Weapons spread, conflict grows, bloodshed increases. The knowledge itself becomes inseparable from what humanity chooses to do with it. This creates one of the most fascinating questions in the entire story. Was the knowledge itself evil, or was the danger that humanity received power without the wisdom to control it? The Book of Enoch does not give us a modern philosophical answer, but its narrative makes one thing clear. The result was disaster, and weapons were not the only secrets Azazel revealed. Chapter 4. Beauty, Ornaments, and Deception. According to the Book of Enoch, Azazel also taught humanity about bracelets, ornaments, precious stones, coloring substances, and the beautifying of the eyes. To a modern audience, this can sound strange. Why would cosmetics appear beside swords and armor in a story about forbidden knowledge? But within the moral world of the ancient text, these teachings appear connected with corruption, desire, and seduction. The author is not simply creating a list of inventions, he is constructing an explanation for how a world becomes consumed by violence, vanity, and uncontrolled desire. Weapons transform conflict, adornment transforms appearance, and hidden knowledge transforms power. One revelation follows another, until the human world no longer resembles what it was before the Watchers descended. But Azazel was not acting alone. Other Watchers were teaching humanity their own secrets. Chapter 5. The Other Forbidden Teachers. The Book of Enoch preserves a remarkable list. Different Watchers are associated with different teachings. Some teach enchantments, others, the cutting of roots. Others reveal knowledge concerning celestial signs, the stars, the course of the moon, and other mysteries of the heavens. To the ancient author, this was not simply education. These were secrets. Crossing from one realm into another, the heavenly beings were revealing things they had no authority to reveal. Humanity was being given access to knowledge beyond its proper boundaries. And as this knowledge spread, something even more dangerous was growing alongside it. The children of the Watchers, the giants, the beings later associated with the Nephilim tradition. And according to the Book of Enoch, their hunger would become almost impossible to satisfy. Chapter 6. The Giants. According to 1st Enoch, the unions between the Watchers and human women produced enormous offspring. Giants. The text describes them in deliberately overwhelming terms. Their size is extraordinary. Their appetite, even more so. At first, humanity provides for them, but eventually the resources of human beings are no longer enough. The giants consume what people produce. Then, according to the story, they turn against humanity itself. Violence explodes. The giants attack living creatures. Blood fills the earth. Creation itself seems to collapse into disorder. This is the world produced by the Watchers' rebellion, a world where heavenly boundaries have been broken, where forbidden knowledge has spread, and where beings that were never supposed to exist now dominate humanity. And throughout this descent into chaos, the Book of Enoch repeatedly returns to Azazel, because his teachings have given this violent world the tools of violence. Eventually, the suffering becomes so great that the earth itself is described as crying out, and heaven hears it. Chapter 7. Heaven looks down. According to the Book of Enoch, 4 great archangels witness what is happening below: Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel. They see blood being poured across the earth. They hear the cries of humanity, and they bring the condition of the world before God. The contrast is striking. The Watchers had looked down upon humanity and desired what they saw. The archangels now look down and see what that desire has produced: a world corrupted by violence, human beings suffering, giants consuming the earth, and forbidden knowledge spreading from generation to generation. Judgment follows. Different archangels receive different missions, but the command concerning Azazel is given to Raphael. And what happens next reveals just how seriously the Book of Enoch views his actions. Chapter 8. Being Azazel. The command is direct. According to 1st Enoch, Raphael is told, banned Azazel hand and foot. The fallen angel who revealed knowledge to humanity is stripped of his freedom. Raphael takes him into the wilderness, to a place the text calls Dudael. There, Azazel is thrown into darkness. Rough and jagged stones are placed over him. He is hidden from the light, and he is ordered to remain there until the day of judgment. The imagery is brutal. A heavenly being, once free to move between realms, now buried beneath the earth. No sky, no freedom, no escape. But then the text says something even more important. Responsibility for much of the corruption of the earth is placed upon Azazel. The Book of Enoch even declares that the whole earth had been corrupted through the works taught by him. It is one of the strongest accusations made against any individual watcher, and suddenly, his punishment makes more sense. Azazel is not being condemned merely because he descended. He is being condemned for what he brought with him. Chapter 9. Why Azazel? This raises an important question. Why does Azazel receive so much attention? When 200 watchers descended, why not Semjaza? Why not the others? The answer may lie in the type of rebellion Azazel represents. Semjaza's rebellion is physical. He crosses the boundary between heavenly beings and human women. Azazel's rebellion goes further. He transfers power, he takes knowledge associated with the heavenly realm, and places it into human hands. And once knowledge enters the world, it cannot easily be taken back. A sword can be destroyed, but the knowledge of how to make another sword survives. A teacher can disappear, but the teaching can continue for generations. That may be one reason the story remains so powerful. Azazel does not merely commit an act of rebellion, he creates consequences that outlive the rebel himself. And according to the Book of Enoch, those consequences become part of the reason. The ancient world must be judged. Chapter 10. Enoch enters the story. Then other watchers become afraid. They know judgment has been pronounced. They know their children will not survive. They know they themselves will not simply return to heaven. And so they turn to a human being, Enoch. According to the text, the watchers ask Enoch to write a petition on their behalf. They want him to intercede for them, to ask heaven for forgiveness. Think about the reversal. Heavenly beings, who once descended believing they could take what they desired, now beg a mortal man to carry their words back toward heaven. Enoch agrees to present their petition, but mercy does not come. Instead, the watchers receive a devastating answer. They were supposed to intercede for humanity. Humanity was not supposed to intercede for them. Their judgment stands. Their children will die. They will witness the destruction before being confined. And Azazel, already buried in darkness, will remain imprisoned. Chapter 11. The Flood. The Book of Enoch connects the rebellion of the watchers with the corruption that precedes the flood. This does not mean Azazel alone causes the flood. The story describes a much wider collapse. The watchers rebel. The giants spread violence. Humanity becomes corrupted. Blood covers the earth. The created order has been violated. Noah is warned. A great destruction is approaching. Waters will erase the violent world and allow a new generation to begin. But there is a strange detail. The flood can destroy cities. It can destroy armies. It can destroy the giants. But knowledge is harder to erase. And the Book of Enoch's story does not completely end when the waters rise. Because according to the text, the death of the giants creates another problem. Chapter 12. The Spirits of the Giants. One of the darkest passages in the Book of Enoch describes what happens after the giant offspring of the watchers die. Because they were born from a union between heavenly beings and mortal women, their fate is described as different from ordinary human beings. Their bodies die, but according to verse Enoch, spirits emerge from them, evil spirits upon the earth. The text connects these spirits with violence, oppression, destruction, and attacks upon humanity. In other words, the physical giants disappear, but their influence does not. The rebellion leaves behind a spiritual consequence. The watchers are imprisoned. The giants are destroyed. Yet something remains, something invisible, something that continues to trouble humanity. For ancient readers, this helped explain why evil could continue, even after the great judgment of the flood. The old world had been destroyed, but not every consequence of the old rebellion had vanished, and Azazel himself was still waiting beneath the wilderness. Chapter 13, the Day of Judgment. Azazel's imprisonment is not described as his final punishment. It is temporary, a prison before judgment. According to the Book of Enoch, a future day will come when judgment will be completed. Azazel will be brought forth, and the punishment described for him is fire. The same being who once revealed secrets to humanity now waits in darkness for a judgment he cannot escape. This gives his story a strange structure. He begins above humanity. As a heavenly being possessing knowledge humans do not have, he descends. He becomes a teacher. His knowledge spreads. The world becomes more violent. Then he falls even lower, from heaven to earth, from earth into the wilderness, from the wilderness into darkness beneath the stones. It is almost a descent through layers of existence. And at every stage, Azazel loses something: his place, his authority, his freedom, and finally his future. Chapter 14. Was knowledge the real sin? But there is a deeper question hiding beneath this entire story. If Azazel taught humans metalworking, was metalworking evil? If he taught ornamentation, were ornaments evil? If other watchers taught knowledge of the heavens, was observing the stars evil? Probably not in such a simple sense. The story seems concerned with something deeper. Boundaries. Who possesses knowledge? Who has authority to reveal it? And what happens when power arrives without responsibility? A blade can defend a family alone or destroy one. Knowledge of metals can create tools or weapons. Knowledge can build civilizations or accelerate their destruction. The Book of Enoch was written in an ancient world, but the question at the center of Azazel's story feels surprisingly modern. What happens when our ability to create something develops faster than our wisdom to control it? Humanity has asked versions of that question again and again, with weapons, with machines, with nuclear power, with genetic engineering, and today with artificial intelligence. The technologies change, the question does not. Just because something can be discovered, does that mean it should immediately be used? The Book of Enoch gives its own ancient answer. Knowledge without restraint can become destruction. Chapter 15. Azazel outside the Book of Enoch, the mystery becomes even deeper because the name Azazel did not disappear with the Book of Enoch. In Leviticus, during the ritual associated with the Day of Atonement, 2 goats are selected. One is offered to the Lord, the other is associated with Azazel and sent into the wilderness, carrying the sins of the community. Exactly what the term means there remains debated. Some interpretations understand Azazel as a wilderness being. Others understand the word differently. We should not simply assume that every appearance of the name represents exactly the same figure, but the connection is difficult to ignore. Wilderness, sin, removal, a figure named Azazel. And centuries later, the Book of Enoch describes Azazel being imprisoned in the wilderness. For ancient readers familiar with these traditions, the imagery may have carried enormous weight. The wilderness was not simply empty land. It could represent disorder, danger, and separation from the sacred community. And that is precisely where the fallen teacher is sent. Chapter 16. Why the story survived. More than 2,000 years after the Book of Enoch was composed, people are still asking about Azazel. Not because historians can prove that a fallen angel literally descended and taught humanity metallurgy. They cannot. The Book of Enoch is an ancient religious text, not a modern historical record, but its story survived because the questions beneath it survived. Where does destructive knowledge come from? Why does humanity repeatedly transform discovery into warfare? Why does greater power not always produce greater wisdom? And who carries responsibility When knowledge causes destruction, the teacher, the student, or both? The Book of Enoch gives Azazel enormous responsibility, but humanity is not portrayed as completely innocent. The teachings are received, used, expanded, and the violence spreads. Perhaps that is what makes the story more disturbing. Azazel opens the door. Humanity walks through it. Final chapter. The forbidden teacher according to the Book of Enoch. Azazel once possessed knowledge. Humanity did not. He descended from the heavenly realm. He taught humans how to shape metal into weapons, how to create armor, how to use ornaments, precious stones, and techniques of beautification. And through those teachings, the ancient text connects him with the corruption of the world before the flood. But Azazel's story is not really about swords, it is not really about cosmetics, and it may not even be primarily about angels. At its deepest level, it is a story about knowledge and responsibility, about the danger of crossing boundaries without understanding the consequences, about how a single discovery can change civilization forever, and about how some knowledge, once released, can never truly be taken back. According to the Book of Enoch, heaven responded by binding Azazel, hand and foot. Raphael cast him into the wilderness. Stones covered him, darkness surrounded him. The world above continued, while the teacher of forbidden knowledge waited below, waiting for judgment. And perhaps that is the final warning, hidden inside this ancient story. Humanity often fears monsters, giants, demons, fallen angels. But the Book of Enoch suggests that something else can be equally dangerous. Knowledge placed into the wrong hands at the wrong time. Because the most dangerous gift may not be a weapon. It may be knowing how to create one. The end.